All right. Let's start here. What has been the biggest storyline coming out of camp over the past week? Actually, no. I'm not going to start there. I apologize. I actually want to start. Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. I want to start with the preseason games. Colts played the Patriots 8:13, 7 p.m. We're going to go back to you, Derek. Why don't we start there? Talk to me about what you saw from your Colts against the Patriots.
Well, I mean, the big storyline was, the two backup quarterbacks, who was going to stand out. And, Anthony Richardson definitely stood out. There were still some mistakes that he made during this game, which, I mean, the interception, I won't really give him too much blame for that one. It hit the wide receiver's hands. He's got to come down with that. But then there was an obvious fumble later in the game that, again, just holding on to the freaking football. I mean, it's enraging. But again, outside of that interception, from a passing mechanics perspective, Anthony Richardson definitely showed some great things. And I love to see it. Love that he was able to put together a couple of offensive drives there and, show that, hey, he's still got it and he's still got it figured out. And clearly he has just a small step above Riley Leonard at this moment in time based off of that performance. Some of the young guys, especially on the defensive line, really stood out. Caden Curry and George Gumbs Jr., who you drafted in the draft this year, both had a sack in that game. And Caden Curry was just everywhere in the backfield in that game. So, I mean, phenomenal from the rookies. But another thing, too, is definitely the secondary depth behind what your starters are going to be is definitely a major concern. I wasn't able to watch the game completely. I only was able to watch like maybe a drive or two because I was busy during that time. But from what everyone else was informing me was that this secondary was definitely having a difficult time being stuck on anything. So that's certainly something that I think the Colts might have to start looking at, is adding to this cornerback room on the back end of the roster, especially since Cam Taylor-Britt was suspended for the first game as well. So you have to make sure you have some more depth there for that. But yeah, all in all, some good things to look at. And I was pleasantly surprised with some of the young guys out there and what they were doing.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, right? Preseason games, like joint practices we talked a little bit about, that's more for your starters going up against their starters. So I'm glad to see that you had some of those young guys looking good for you. Michael, let's go over to you. Obviously, your Titans played my Niners. Let's start with an area that you are pleasantly surprised in coming off of that game in the preseason.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be the right guard, Francis Carmona, who's basically just jettisoned up the depth chart in this camp. The fact that they're already viewing him as a potential starter for week one, and it almost seems like the competition's over. You kind of just feel like this is kind of a pleasant surprise coming from a 5th-round pick where you kind of just felt he was going to be a role player. But the fact that they're really just looking at him and saying, wow, this kid has starting potential. And he started basically all the way up through potentially about day 6 in camp. So the fact that he's just continued to just perform at just these levels and just really just got a lot of attention from the national media, he's really just showing that he has the potential to be something special if he continues this trajectory.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Prize Picks. They are the sponsor,
Hunter,
the main sponsor of this channel. Use promo code HMA, and they've got a hell of a promo right now. New users play $5, you get $150 if you win, and it's as simple as picking 2 or more players to go more or less. Do not get crazy with it. You see here, I've got a whole ticket of players. You don't have to do that. Your first time through, just pick 2 that you're confident in, more or less, stash your $150 that they give you, and play from there. So here's what I got, though. I got $5 to win $400. Jonathan Taylor, I got him scoring a touchdown week 1. Trevor Lawrence, I got him throwing 0 interceptions week 1. Cam Ward, I got to be honest, man. I got the more on 190.5. Not feeling as good about it after that preseason
You'll probably
game.
make more
All
money
right.
if you put this ticket in now.
Yeah, maybe. And then Danielle Hunter, I've got less on the 0.75 sacks. I know, Ruben. I know.
Man, he was making life hell
play.
today for Fernando Mendoza, and
I'm
Kirk
sure he
Cousins.
was.
According to Jesse, he's Danielle Hunter in this slip.
Yeah, right. And then
Neil.
Yes, he's never going to let you live this down.
And then
This
according to
Neil
Jesse,
Hunter.
right, it's Cameron Ward.
He's never going to let you.
Cameron Ward, yeah. Danielle Hunter, my bad. Goodness sakes, all right.
He's Danielle Hunter on this slip, Not even get a sack.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so that is the picks. $5 to win 400. That is the AFC South picks. Again, links in the description. Promo code HMA. You can tail it or you can fade it, but use promo code HMA. And then that brings me to RotoWire, the best tandem fantasy football app out there. And I know your drafts are going crazy. Hopefully you're one of those smart leagues. I got to tell you, a lot of leagues draft way too damn early. All right. But hopefully your league is not one of them, because injuries are happening left and right, not only in preseason, but in these joint practices. So here's the deal. RotoWire, use promo code RTS to get 25% off your first month. And I'll tell you, this app crushes, especially if your league is one of those different ones like mine, where it's got a super flex position. It's got an extra flex position between the wide receiver, running back, and tight end. It's a deep league. It's a keeper league, 12-team league. And it is hard to mock draft and get ready for a league like that. However, it is much easier with RotoWire. All you have to do is you go to fantasy here. You can do a mock draft simulator, and you can plug in your league and all of its settings into the app here, and you can mock draft to perfection. And then once you've come up with a strategy, whether you want to be aggressive in early rounds, maybe you want to take your foot off the gas pedal in later rounds, whatever that strategy is, you can deploy that by adding the add-on here from RotoWire into your actual draft. It'll keep you in line. I promise you, RotoWire helps you win leagues. It's been helping me win leagues for many, many years. So check them out. 25% off. Link is in the description. All right. Yeah, he definitely did look good in that game for sure. One of the I gotta say, you guys won, all right, but one of the bright spots for sure. We got to talk Cam Ward. I'm not gonna get there yet. I got some questions for you around Cam Ward. Dalton,
build up.
Let's talk about your guys' game against the Saints. Obviously, you said that they won, but curious to know who your pleasant surprise was coming out of that game.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of starters that played. It was pretty much all backups, but there were, of course, some players that played that will have some impact for the Jaguars in 2026, and the Jaguars will need to lean on. I think the main thing, I've been kind of banging a drum that the Jaguars need to bring in more edge rusher help. The Jaguars, when it comes to the pass rush, they tried to strengthen the pass rush more through like the interior of the defensive line by bringing in Rukaroro and Albert Regis, but also just getting guys back in a secondary from injury like Travis Hunter and Jordan Lewis. But in this game, BJ Green and Danny Strigo, two undrafted free agents from the 2025 draft, they came out and, they showed everybody that they're still here. Whenever it's the preseason, they really look like all pros amongst a bunch of backups, right? Which obviously it's a bunch of backups, but still like they consistently look like the best players on the field. So I do think that those guys can really come in there and really help generate some pass rush for the Jaguars, and they need them on third down. And I think that the Jaguars will have some good, healthy combinations on for the third down pass rush scenarios. So coming away from that, I actually did feel pretty good about those two guys, and it comes to really trying to make an impact for the Jaguars this year.
Now, one thing I didn't bring up, you guys I thought I saw a pretty significant injury along the offensive line a couple of days ago. Did I see that wrong, or?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's significant. They lost Chuma Edoga. I don't know what the exact injury is. I don't think they disclosed it yet, but the game started off actually pretty awful. Like the Jaguars kicked the ball off. The Saints returned it to like the 8 or 9 yard line. Then they rushed in for a touchdown. Then the very first play on offense, Chuma Edoga got injured and he got carted off. So I imagine he's out for the year. But he's a guy that was like he's going to be like the fringe like roster bubble guy. Like we wouldn't be surprised if he made it. Wouldn't be surprised if he got cut. He was kind of one of those guys. But with the Jaguars line being kind of injured, it does kind of suck. And it was just kind of like with all the injuries and the Jaguars, it's more some nagging injuries at the offensive line. Nothing like significant where it's like, okay, we lost this lineman for the year. But it's still like, of course, it was kind of just an exclamation point on, we having a really banged up offensive line, and then boom, first play on offense in the preseason, we lose one of our depth guys very first play. So they lost that guy, and there's some kind of injuries here and there, which good news is no one's ruled out for week 1. Bad news is there's some injuries on the offensive line.
Absolutely. Well, Ruben, you know all about the offensive line, but that's not necessarily what we're here to talk about just yet. You guys did play a game, though, against the Chargers, who I got to say, man, my Niners had a joint practice with them today, and it did not go so well for my Niners. So talk to me about what you saw in that preseason game. More importantly, though, who was the pleasant surprise coming out of that game?
The pleasant surprise was the Houston Texans starting offensive line along with undrafted rookie Noah Whittington out of Oregon. The starting offensive line did play out there. It was Ariante Ursary at left, Wyatt Teller at left guard, Keelan Rutledge, your rookie at center, and I would say, he's a bright spot also. Ed Ingram and Braden Smith, and the offensive line was able to march down the field, was able to create clean pockets for Davis Mills, and it ended with a score to Jared Wayne, and then the starting offensive line went off. That was the only score for the Houston Texan offense. After that, Graham Mertz, who was the third-string quarterback for the Houston Texans, unfortunately tears his ACL. Davis Mills has to come back in, and they're just trying to, just to end the game with everyone healthy. But the bright spots, I will say, from, a 27-7 thrashing is really your starting offensive line, opening up lanes on the ground also, and, scoring in the first drive. There was a lot more to take away from today's joint practice, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, we're definitely to get to that joint practice. I'm excited
Rookie
to see
Kamari
what
Ramsey,
you're
I'm
talking
sorry. He also had an interception. He should have had a pick six.
Okay. All right. I like